This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dornall and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Saturday, February 1st, 2020. And this is the part of the introduction where I say something really clever, but really the only thing on my mind is this. I hope that everybody is safe from the coronavirus. I hope that everything is going well with you in this chancy time, whether it is overblown, whether the danger is overblown, or whether people are all too complacent. I hope that you, our loyal listeners, and every member of your family remains safe until whatever it is gets cured and passed over. So welcome to the show, folks. Dornall, how was your week?
It's great. I just got back from Wuhan, China. I tasted the most unbelievable dish. Do you want to know what I had there? It was soup, but it was made from bat. Can you believe it? Bat soup.
I can believe that. I saw a picture of that this last week.
Anyway, I'm feeling a little under the weather, so I don't know what happened, but it didn't sit so well with me.
You had a litany of problems. Did you want to?
No, I'm not gonna make everybody suffer as I have. It's just a handful of things not going my way this week. It's no big deal. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, I started laughing because at a certain point where so many things go wrong in a row, what do? You can't. It's like you can't even complain anymore. You just have to start laughing.
Well, one of the things I'll mention, if I suddenly disappear, it's because I've lost power.
Yes, because you are in that vast rural wasteland known as Seattle.
Yeah, the infrastructure out here is just, that I'm being snarky here, but the infrastructure in Seattle is pretty questionable in the whole region. I don't mind dunking on what I see around here, which is for a place that's been inhabited for so long, and a place that's been so populous for so long. I am shocked at how poor the civil engineering is. Seattle's well known for its rain, yet I've seen standing water on many of its roadways. What are you going to do about that?
The thing is, I always pictured or always imagined Seattle as like this clean, high-tech city.
Yeah, well, that's your Shadowrun sourcebooks talking. There's a great deal of Seattle that's sort of old and grimy, and I guess for a certain amount of people that's charming. But it also has its high-tech sections, newer apartments and office buildings, the Amazon headquarters, famously.
Not one of their slave dungeon warehouses.
Yeah, I don't know where those are.
Well, no, it's just like the aerospace industry that's there. Boeing and the other companies are just kind of, the sleek new city of the future.
That's what the big tech companies would like Seattle to become, but that's only been in the past 30 years. And even Microsoft is on the other side of the lake in Redmond, Washington, as everybody probably knows. The turning Seattle into this tech paradise is you heard the scare quotes there. This Cyberpunk Distopia is that's sort of a work in progress. The old Seattle's sort of a working class town with its fair share of hippies from the Pacific Northwest.
So like fishing and
Boeing. Remember, before Seattle was tech, Boeing was the big industry here. And even Boeing is Boeing's doing everything it can to self-destruct right now.
Boeing is the air industry equivalent of like Blizzard.
Blizzard's a good comparison because Boeing's calling card for most of its history was very high quality engineering. Their stuff worked. It worked well. It was safe. That sort of thing. So Boeing with this 737 Max scandal is sort of showing its weakness, and it's not the same company it was, and it's no longer the only employer in the area. Meanwhile, big tech companies are turning Seattle into a sort of another Silicon Valley, full of tech guys from around the world who get paid too much and increased demand on house prices and so on and so forth. It is what it is.
Well, we were starting, and I don't know if this is going to be a regular thing or not, but was there something you hit this week, or you found, or you encountered that you love?
Let's see. I don't know. This is a tough week. I'm going to say that nothing comes to mind. What about you?
Well, and this is entirely the fault of Cyberpunk 2077. So I came by this honestly. This is not just me suddenly making a left turn here. They had a music video that they had put together because one of the songs for the next game for 2077 is sung by Elon Musk's girlfriend. Speaking of high-tech aerospace endeavors, she's a singer called Grimes. And the song, when I saw the video, I just thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great song. So I listened to it. I thought it was great. And I went to check out the album. I've got an Apple Music subscription now, which means that anytime I feel like going and checking out somebody, I can just, download their album, or hell, download their entire music history and pick through it and find out stuff that I like. Well, she hasn't released an album in like 4 years, but she's got an upcoming one that's supposed to be coming out real soon. And it's supposed to be a concept album and stuff. But the song itself, and most of the songs on the album, that it's in pre-release right now, so you can buy some of the cuts off the album. The song that was on the Cyberpunk 2077 music video is called 4AEM, only it's the Latin AE, so the letters are squished together. I don't know what that's supposed to spell. I just looked at it and nodded and said, I like the song. It's a great song. The album is called Miss Anthropocene. So if you want to ask me what I love this week, I love that song, and I really like the rest of the album.
Oh, that's great to hear. What was her name again?
It's Grimes.
That's it. One word.
Yep.
Sort of like Madonna, just dirty.
Yes. And also, just around the same time, if I could add something else in, I downloaded, and this is why that comment earlier was not just a hypothetical. I downloaded Billie Eilish's entire musical catalog from Apple Music, which basically is the iTunes store. And just about everything she's done is really good.
She's a young pop singer, right?
Yeah, she just turned 18. She is kind of creepy looking as a person, or maybe that's just the costume she was putting on for some of this music. But man, She's got a different style than any of the music I've ever listened to before. She's going to be doing the theme song for the next Bond movie. And as soon as I found that out after I'd listened to all her music, and I thought, or maybe it was I found that out, then I decided, oh, okay, maybe I better check out her music. And then listening to all her music, I realized, oh yeah, she's got the exact kind of style of music that typically a Bond film would like. Or at least the modern Bond films would like. The last few Bond film themes, she seems to fit that musical feel, that musical sound. But Billie Eilish, I like most of the stuff that I downloaded. So both of those, for me, really, really recent artists are in. I listened to them quite a few times. Yes, that's the picture. That's the scary picture.
Yes, I knew a couple of girls like this in high school. I didn't know goth was still in. All right, hey, is goth back?
You are asking entirely the wrong fella.
All right, fantastic. Now, last week you were really excited about a bunch of stuff you had seen or did or read, and I had to break the news. I'm sorry, but I'm out of town this weekend. We can't do a show.
Yeah.
I know you've been holding all of that stuff inside you for so long, and it's just waiting to burst out onto the internet.
Before we do that, I'm going to need to take like 30 seconds of time to fix a quick technical problem.
You have a technical problem unheard of on the Geek Gab.
We haven't had technical problems in so long. Not like big ones.
Not big ones. We only have little ones now. I love the StreamYard. We've been using it since it's been a few months now. Love it.
Yeah. Google screwed everything up regularly, but StreamYard has been A-okay.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and do that? I will entertain our audiences with a short experience, and I only have 30 seconds of content, so you're on the clock. Okay.
I'll be right back.
I did go and see a movie, but I did want to talk really quick about the trailers. I think we spoke last time about this, or I spoke about this when we talked about how horrible the movies in the first quarter of the year really are. And these trailers were no exception. I saw a couple of the same ones and a couple of new ones. But I wanted to point out there's a trailer for a new film, sort of a remake of an old film, an old story about the Invisible Man. And the Invisible Man is supposedly going to be re-released or released sometime in March. And I wanted to bring it up because of how nonsense it looked. First of all, the trailer gives away pretty much the whole film. The trailer, it's a long trailer, and I'm sure it hits just about every major story beat in it. So I don't think anybody watching the film is going to be surprised at all. But the main thrust of the story is what makes it so stupid. So I'm glad you're back, DW, because I think we've all had that, when your kids talk about, oh, what kind of superpower you'd have. There's always someone that does, oh, I want to be invisible, so I can do this. I can sneak around. I can get into the girls' locker room. I can take what I want, that sort of thing. So the thrust of the plot is this: the main character of this Invisible Man story is actually his horribly abused wife, right? And he dies at the beginning of the film, and so it's his ex-wife who's trying to move on from this abuse, but he's haunting her. And so this is the part that kills me. Would you, if you were to write a story about an invisible man, even a bad invisible man, a villainous invisible man, couldn't you do better as an invisible villain than just torturing your ex-wife? I mean, Is this guy so small that he's going to use all this amazing power that he has?
I think Kevin Bacon did do better than just torturing his ex-wife. In Hollow Man, in which he played an evil, invisible man.
Oh, I missed that one. How did that go?
I didn't see it, but I know that he did a whole lot of stuff to a whole lot of different people.
Yeah, it's great to have an invisible villain that sort of
ambitious.
Yeah, well, just as a thriller or like an invisible monster. But when you make it, this is a psychological thriller, but with an invisible person. No, the second someone gets that invisible power, he's going to be like, you know what? First, I'm going to the girls' locker room. Second, I'm going to rob some banks. And third, you know what I'm saying? Think big. Third, I'm going to find out, everyone's dark secrets and blackmail them all or whatever. Even if it's for petty crime, you're going to think of some nefarious stuff to do, not just, oh, I'm going to drive my ex actually mentally insane by haunting her as a ghost. I don't know. Exceptionally stupid.
Yeah. But the thing you mentioned right as I was coming in was that the trailer gives away everything in the movie.
Oh, and the movie's being dumped off in March. They don't expect anyone to see it.
We were having this conversation last night on Twitter because we just had the trailer for the next Fast and the Furious movie just came out yesterday. So I watched it and then immediately went out and tweeted out, hey guys, there's a new trailer for the Fast and the Furious movie. The movie looks dope. It looks great. I want to go see it. But whoever is reading this, if you're interested in the Fast and the Furious movies, this looks like a great movie. Go see the movie. It looks great. Don't ever watch the trailer. Stay away from all of the trailers for this movie because they give away everything to the movie. Like massive spoilers, moments that are supposed to be like big surprises or big reveals. I mean, I could not count the number of things the trailer gave away that are not supposed to be given away until you get into the movie. It was... and then somebody else came on and had a pretty emphatic statement about what how they felt about that kind of event, and it's become more and more and more just common. And you look at it and you're like, why? Why? I'm going to read this. It's from the Gorn Lord on Twitter. Why the blank does every single movie trailer do that nowadays? Every single major film in the last 4 years has at some point dropped a trailer that is literally the entire film, beat for beat, condensed into 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I really don't get it. Coincidentally, I'm pretty sure that the trailer for the new Fast and the Furious was right around 3 minutes or so. So he wasn't far off there.
Wow. It's, you know what, that complaint has been around forever. Movie directors famously hate trailers and the people that put them together for giving away too much. But a couple of these examples are egregious. I've never heard of anybody. I mean, people take to Twitter over the dumbest things. I've never heard of anybody getting angry on Twitter about a trailer. I was shocked because all the trailers gave away a lot that I saw, but the one for the Invisible Man, it was clearly the whole movie, some of the great moments that you sort of expect to see later in the film. Yeah, we're just going to spoil that. Have you seen 1917 yet?
Yeah, I saw that. That was a great movie.
That was a great movie, but now you know that the trailer absolutely spoiled a pretty important plot point because it's showing scenes from later in the film, and you're like, huh. I could have sworn this film started off with 2 soldiers running around away from the Germans, and that was a massive spoiler.
What was really, and I think this just blew the whole movie up. And again, we're talking about this Invisible Man movie. It is immediately obvious if you watch the trailer that in the beginning of the movie, you're supposed to not know whether she's crazy or whether something is actually going on. And
Right.
then halfway through the trailer, they show exactly what's going on and that she's not crazy. And I think they even show pieces from the final confrontation, like the final fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally the whole movie in a condensed form. And I just thought, you have ruined that entire movie. Because with thrillers like that, it's the buildup, it's the suspense. And even if what's going on is real, it might be a ghost. It might be some kind of psychic thing. You build in suspense by building in mystery and layering it on and keeping the tension high. And they have completely deflated the tension of it for anybody who watched the trailer because they gave away the entire game.
Yep. So it's going to be this one of those psychological thrillers that turns into an actual monster, invisible monster movie. But you don't get to enjoy any of those beats or transitions because you already witnessed them in the trailer.
And this is the ironic thing, is that one of the movies I saw recently, which is Bad Boys for Life, it turns out after I saw it, the trailers I saw did exactly that. All the great moments in the movie, they put in the trailers.
Wow.
Every single one. And don't get me wrong, Bad Boys for Life is a great movie. It's much better than Bad Boys 2, not as good as Bad Boys 1. And I'm a fan of the Bad Boys movies. Fan of Will Smith, fan of Martin Lawrence. But man, I was just so disappointed that they didn't leave anything to be truly surprising, because things would pop up and you're like, oh yeah, that's a great joke that I already saw because I saw the trailer. And it just, all the best parts of the movie were given away. So
are they the best point? See, I've never seen the Bad Boys, or this is the third one, right?
This is the third one.
Wow. I've never seen any of them, and obviously Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have a particular appeal. Is that the appeal of Bad Boys? Like, you get to see 2 actors you like in a buddy cop movie?
Well, specifically, you get to see them in a Bad Boys movie. The Bad Boys movies, they're kind of like Bond movies. Like, it's not just, seeing those actors that you like in them. It's seeing them in a James Bond movie. And if you don't have the feel and you don't have the look and you don't have the vibe and the characters of a James Bond movie, it's not really a James Bond movie.
Well, I was given the impression that it was like Lethal Weapon, like a cop movie. Can you tell me what a Bad Boys movie is? What does that mean?
It's about, and this is actually really important too, because this is the biggest drawback of the movie. It's a great movie. It's an interesting movie. It's a perfect Bad Boys sequel. They did it. And the movie doesn't sneer at the audience. It doesn't deconstruct Bad Boys. The Bad Boys movie are buddy cop movies, and buddy cop movies depend on 2 characters who are different, who are working together to fight crime, right?
Yeah.
All buddy cop movies are like that. That's the formula because it works. Because it gives you tension between the two partners. And so that adds to the drama or humor. Bad Boys is cops who are, there's a lot of humor in it. One cop is smooth ladies man, wealthy because his family was wealthy. He's got a lot of money, but despite all that, he is a policeman. He goes out and goes hard for crime. His partner is living on a cop's salary. He's a family man. He's got kids and his wife, and he's dealing with family problems during the movie. And they're complete opposites. He is not smooth at all. But they're best friends. They're brothers, and they're dealing with really bad people. And it's the first two movies were the first two movies were directed by one of the greatest directors of modern times.
Oh,
yeah. Very, very saturated colors, lots of car chases and explosions.
Do you mean Michael Bay?
I do mean Michael Bay.
Oh, wow.
So they're Michael Bay movies. And then so that's the mix. It's a Michael Bay movie with two cops played by appropriate characters. So the smooth ladies man is played by, would you guess?
Oh, the smooth ladies man? That'll be Will Smith.
Right. And the family man is played by Martin Lawrence, of course. And it's just a combination of humor, action, and all of that is just a really fun action movie. The second one, the script had some problems. They dived into some weird stuff without laying it out or explaining it. It was just kind of off-putting. But the third one is a return to form with one big mistake that isn't obvious when you watch the movie. It became obvious to me when I was thinking it over after. But the third one is not directed by Michael Bay because he was busy working on 6 Underground, which I also saw. That was okay. It was a decent movie, 6 Underground. But yeah, if you like the Bad Boys movie, Bad Boys for Life is it's a great Bad Boys movie.
Now, I don't know. I didn't hear you mention the directors of this one. It sounds like they just got a couple of random guys who went to film school together to direct this. So with like 10 film credits to their names. So they didn't have the sort of rep that Michael Bay does.
Yeah, I have no idea who directed the movie. I wasn't even paying attention. The funny thing is, and this really like staggered me for a second when it came on screen. Michael Bay couldn't direct it, so they got him a bit role in the movie.
That's great.
I was staring at the screen. I'm like, I think that's Michael Bay. I swear to heaven, that is Michael Bay doing that part. And so I checked IMDb after I got out of the theater, and yep, that was Michael Bay.
Yeah, I got suspicious because the directors, it's a pair of directors, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah. And Wikipedia is trying to tell me that they're Belgian, but scroll down a bit, they're Moroccan-born guys who went to film school in Belgium, and I guess they live in Belgium. But yeah, just some random guys who went to film school to direct this film. Interesting. But they did a good job.
They did a good job.
Great.
So yeah, if you like the Bad Boys movies and you want another Bad Boys, this is a good Bad Boys movie.
Cool.
And I liked it. I really did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I was ready to not like it.
Yeah, I mean, the first Bad Boys, are you ready to feel old yet? It was 1995.
Yeah.
So we're lucky that Martin Lawrence and Will Smith have aged pretty well.
And
that you get to have a fun movie out of it.
there was jokes about them getting old in there, of course. Not like copying Lethal Weapon jokes, but you know, there's some humor about them aging and stuff. It was well done. But the trailers have given away way too much of the movie, and I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah. All right. So you loved Bad Boys. What else did you want to talk about?
I also want to drop in what was bad about it.
Oh.
It completely detonates or deconstructs Mike Lowry's character. It breaks the character, in my opinion. Because Mike Lowry's supposed to be the smooth guy. He's supposed to be this ladies' man. He's supposed to be, chill.
Sure.
And I can't explain exactly why, because it's a massive spoiler for the movie. It's literally one of the major plot points, maybe the major plot point, the biggest plot point, surprise in the movie. But at one point, you learn that he did something that is so out of character, and that all of these good features about his character that you admire, Mike Lowry that you admire, just it came from something really, really bad. It came from just a huge, massive, and grotesque mistake, and it kind of strips everything away from him. They just break the character in two, and it's painful.
Just for the plot point, just for the drama.
Yeah. And it might have worked done a different way, but and I didn't notice it while I was watching the movie, or I didn't think about it because the movie's moving so quick, but afterwards I'm just like, nah, that's bad. But they broke the character of Mike Lowry, and it's really disappointing. There's a lot of that going around, but it's really disappointing.
That's too bad.
So I'd like to do a deep discussion of it, but I just it's too new right now. The movie just came out. I want to give people who like Bad Boys a chance to go watch it, because Bad Boys 3 is a great movie, and Bad Boys 1 is one of the legendary 90s action movies. I mean, you have The Rock, Bad Boys, Mission Impossible. They're just some landmark action movies that came out in the 90s.
Yeah, that was the age of Michael Bay action movies. Wow. Well, that's a shame, but you did like it.
I did like it, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else waiting to burst forth?
There are other movies I saw we can talk about, but of course, you also saw a movie, and we can talk about that whenever you want to, too.
That'll be great. Might as well. As you know, I went and saw The Gentleman because have you ever seen all the Guy Ritchie gangster movies, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch?
I've seen a few of them, but not all of them. But I should have already, because he's a phenomenal director, and the ones I have seen have been just great.
Yeah, Lock,
it's
Stock,
a shame that I haven't seen them.
You should. I've seen the big ones. I've seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch, and this one. I missed his. He recently did King Arthur too, but I don't think that one counts.
That one I saw.
So I was really excited.
Didn't he also do the Sherlock Holmes movies?
Yeah, he did the Sherlock Holmes movies, with the ones with Robert Downey Jr. as Sherlock Holmes, with the weird slow motion fight scenes.
Yeah.
This is a really strange take on Sherlock Holmes. But that's his thing. He does weird, strange, fun things with movies. He's sort of got his own distinct style. I was excited to find out that he came out with a new one. And yes, it's not really critically acclaimed, and it's been dumped off in America in January, so I wasn't expecting much. But what can I say? It's a gangster movie done by Guy Ritchie. It has its own weird quirks in the way it tells stories. It doesn't play everything straight like a traditional film. It's got a really, I want to say, an awkward start where the framing story is a private investigator who's got a bunch of dirt on all the major characters in the film, and so he's telling his story. Hey, this is what I know, so that he can blackmail one of the characters. So that's a fun framing story, and they do some sort of awkward cuts and not quite a fourth wall break, but a really strange introduction to the actual story itself. So what I want to say is that beginning sort of sets up awkwardly because there's no main characters. I'm sorry, no protagonist is what I mean to say. In Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, you're introduced right away to the four young guys who are about to get in a whole lot of trouble, right?
Yeah.
And you sort of follow their story. And Snatch, it's the two guys who have trouble with their boxer. They've got a boxer. They're trying to hustle for some cash, and everything blows up in their face, right? And at times you do follow the other main characters, and so it all comes together at the end. And in this one, it doesn't feel like you've got a main protagonist. So that made it difficult to get into at the beginning. But once you get past the awkward start and the dialogue, and after all the characters that are going to inevitably collide with each other are introduced, then the story really gets going, and it was really engrossing throughout the rest of the film. You've got American expat played by Matthew McConaughey, who's a drug kingpin, and you've got the over-the-top, slimy Jewish rival who's trying to, who's offering to purchase the drug empire. You've got rival drug empires, street gangs, hilarious group of MMA training kids with Colin Farrell. Yeah, Bryce. Hugh Grant was had a nice cameo as the investigator, and he was nearly unrecognizable at the beginning of the film. It was until his first real good close up that you go, oh hey, that's Hugh Grant. All the characters, once they're introduced and the story gets going, like I said, it becomes very involved because there's everybody has their own angle on this drug empire that Matthew McConaughey is actually trying to sell. He's trying to retire, and once everybody's motivations are laid out and they start acting and they interact with each other, and of course, like all the other Guy Ritchie gangster movies, it all blows up at the end. Very entertaining. I can't believe I was so concise. I'm good at this. Done. I really enjoyed it. It's not as good as previous ones. It does feel like, well, I guess I'm going to make another one of these. Here, I've got this great idea. Let's, follow the Guy Ritchie formula and do this. And the lack of a protagonist, like I said, it wasn't as engaging at the start. You don't have anybody to root for. In the others, there's that one set of characters that you hope they're going to come out okay at the end, right? Sort of a default character to take the side of. And they try to do that with one of the characters played by the guy from Sons of Anarchy, Charlie Hunnam, his character.
Yeah.
Also King Arthur. Yeah. So you kind of are on his side. He's working for Matthew McConaughey's character, and he's the character to whom Hugh Grant's investigator is relating the story to, and he's part of the story. He's sort of Matthew McConaughey's right-hand man. So you kind of are following his story, but you don't care. Because for him the stakes are very high and very low at the same time. There's a chance he could be killed in this gang war, but also he's the only dog in the fight is that his boss's empire's on the line, right? So, yeah. But it's got a lot of that funny humor, that sort of dark underworld humor. Careful for those of you with sensitive senses of humor. He doesn't shy away from having the characters exchange racial stereotypes at each other or something like that. They definitely, for the rival gangster, the guy who's going to buy the empire, they definitely got the slimiest, skeeviest looking Jewish guy they could to do that. He even has he calls his bodyguards the Mossad crabs. And there's some Chinese mobsters too, and they don't actually go over the top with the Chinese stereotypes, but one of the other characters makes fun of their accent in the film, in character, that sort of thing, which was I was shocked. I didn't know you could do that. I think you made the film last year in 2019. I had no idea you could still make jokes like that in 2019. I guess he can get away with it, that sort of thing. There's a great moment, and I don't mind spoiling this. This is a great, great moment. Colin Farrell plays Coach. He's got this weird role in the film where he's a guy who just runs a boxing ring, and he's got a bunch of young street kids that he's training to fight. Except that they're young kids who he's pulled off the street, so they're always getting in trouble, so they become part of it. But the funniest thing that they do is whenever they're out causing trouble and getting into fights and things, they carry multiple cameras and they all wear GoPros. They film it all. They film themselves getting into street fights and beating people up. And then one guy back at the gym, one guy gets on the computer rig and edits together a hip hop videos and posts them on YouTube and stuff. It actually becomes relevant to the plot, and it is hilarious. It as soon as you're basically treated to a part of a music video in the middle of the film, and it's hilarious. Just the way it was introduced. That was a lot of fun.
Sounds like it sounds like a movie I want to go see, that I need to go see.
Yeah, absolutely. What do I say? It's stupid, it's fun, and unlike a lot of the mindless popcorn stuff I've seen in the past year, it wasn't completely forgettable. I liked it.
All right. Do you have anything else, or should we move on to the lightning round?
Lightning round. Hit it.
All right, lightning round. There are a bunch of different movies that I have also seen in the last 2 weeks, including Uncut Gems, Underwater, Last Full Measure, Doctor Sleep, Terminator, Dark Fate, first 2 episodes of Picard, and an episode of Supernatural I wanted to talk about. So we're going to go down the list and do this in the lightning round because we're running out of time. Uncut Gems, the Adam Sandler drama. I thought that was a great film. Adam Sandler does do an incredible job, turns in a great performance. The rest of the cast does as well. And it's a really good look at the guy who is absolutely addicted and who is making his own life crap because of it. So it is a heavy, heavy drama, and it is not a feel-good movie. It's not an action movie, but I would recommend it. It's a good movie. Underwater, the Kristen Stewart vehicle that would cost 100 and something million, I think, or 75 million, something crazy like that.
Actress of the decade, Kristen Stewart.
Actress of the decade, and didn't do very well at the box office. I went in with low expectations, and I was entertained. That was it.
That's the nicest review that movie will ever get. Moving on.
Yeah, I was entertained and I enjoyed it. Last Full Measure is a drama about a guy who was waiting on a Medal of Honor for 30 years, who the men he saved kept on fighting and fighting and fighting for him to get the Medal of Honor. It's a heartwarming movie about how that actually finally happened. In 1999, he finally got that medal from the Vietnam War. And again, I really enjoyed it. It's a very touching movie, a very heartwarming movie, and it was worth going and seeing. I really enjoyed it. Doctor Sleep came out a couple years ago, and I just saw it this week. And my feelings on Doctor Sleep are kind of complicated. I feel like it should have been a horror movie, but it wasn't a horror movie. The book, Doctor Sleep, is a Stephen King book. It's a sequel to his book, The Shining. The movie, Doctor Sleep, is a sequel to the movie, The Shining, by Stanley Kubrick. So there's a lot of differences between the movie and the book. But one of the things that happens is that they give away all the bad guys. You get to know them as characters. So it's not a horror movie. It's more of a thriller movie. And they didn't do a really good job of thrilling it because the villains, who are really actually several millennia old in some cases, they hunt down and eat the spirit or mental energy or soul of kids who have the shine. And if you remember Shining, the shine is the psychic ability that Danny Torrance had and that Scatman Crothers had. By the way, Danny Torrance is a character in the movie. He is all grown up. He's an adult. And you can see they deliberately make a lot of parallels in shots and stuff between the two movies. And a notable part of the movie is shot in the Overlook Hotel. So it really is an actual sequel. It's not just, set in the same universe. This isn't a reboot or soft reboot or whatever. It really is a direct sequel. And I was disappointed. That's what I'm trying to say. I was disappointed that it was this thriller where you get to know the bad guys. They all have names. They all have personalities. They all have backgrounds, and you know who they are. They look like just people, even though they're these 4,000-year-old strange things. They're basically psychic vampires. Who are supposed to be super powerful, but their threat and their thriller, the thrill of the thriller is reduced. And man, this could have been a great movie. These could have been badass, scary bad guys who showed up and did things and disappeared. And it could have been a really good horror movie, but they chose, and I'm assuming they chose this direction because Stephen King went in this direction in this book. They just chose to tell you too much about the villains. I mean, one of the things we didn't see in Star Wars was what was in Darth Vader's underwear drawer.
Okay.
If you had, he wouldn't have been as imposing a villain.
Got it.
He would have been, diminished. So, yeah, they diminished the villains, and I think that was a terrible mistake. And that's what was disappointing about it. Still, there were some really good things in there. Actors turned in some really good performances, and there's some things to like. There were some elements that... if you're a game master and you're building some campaigns, there are some elements you can pick over. But honestly, if you're a game master, if you're any kind of good game master, there are elements you can pick out of almost any movie. So, and I encourage you to develop that habit. Terminator Dark Fate, I saw this week, is a 10-cent Pictures movie. 10 Cent Pictures is a Chinese production company who's pumping a lot of movie into Hollywood, which makes the coronavirus not quite the worst thing to come out of China recently.
10 Cent only marginally more dangerous than Corona-chan.
Awful movie. Even so, they did some good stuff. They did some things right. One of the things I liked is in the battles, the Terminator, the Rev 9, is smart. He tries something and the hero stops him, so he does something else that is smart. He jumps out to the back of a truck and starts climbing up. She hammers on his, arms, and he's going to be knocked off in a second. So which will mean that the good guys will get away. So he changes his hand to a blade and sweeps it across the tires and cuts the tires off, so the truck has to stop. He does something, the hero counters, and he does something smart in response. And it wasn't just one time. It happened again and again and again. That's good writing. That's good, action blocking. And they did a good job with that. So what I'm saying is, yes, it's a bad movie. They did a lot of bad stuff in it, but there is still good things that they put into the movie. It was not entirely a waste of talent. And I'm trying to remember, there was some, the main hero protector, who has popped up in a few things recently. She is a human being who is cybernetically augmented, and she is designed to stand up to a Terminator for about 5 minutes, after which she is exhausted and overheated. She needs water, she needs time to cool down, and she needs a mix of drugs to get her system back under equilibrium or she'll die. That is a cool idea. That's a good idea. That's a smart idea. It's exactly the kind of compromise you can see humans in that dark future making. And the way they cinematically depicted her cyberware. They didn't show a lot of it. They showed one X-ray that was kind of vague. You didn't see real depth. And a few times they show her skin getting torn open, and you see the metallic weave under it. That's her armor. And the metallic weave looks great. It looks plausible. You can see that being armor. You can see that looking like armor under the skin. You can see that protecting her. When she gets hot, her skin gets all red and kind of blotchy, and then it gets, returns to a normal color. And she has these subtle white lines where you don't know what they're for exactly, but you assume they're for some kind of cybernetic something or other. So even in a movie as bad as Dark Fate, there are people who did good things, and they had one or two good concepts. And so the entire movie wasn't a waste. You can rightfully disdain the movie, but it's they still did some good things, and for that they deserve at least a little bit of credit. And I saw the first 2 episodes of Picard. Maybe I'll give a more full review when I've watched the entire series. But Picard is the same way as Terminator Dark Fate. It's overall terrible, but there are small good things that they did right. In the midst of all the awfulness, there's small good things they did right.
I literally muted to blow my nose as you paused in your lightning review, so I apologize for that dead air for a moment.
That's it. That's the lightning round.
That was amazing. You did it. I'm out of topics for today, but it has been a lot of fun hanging out, chatting movies with you today, and everybody else in the chat. I really appreciate everybody hanging out live, talking about. We were talking about Guy Ritchie and Quentin Tarantino and other stuff in the chat during this episode, and I really appreciate it.
Is it my turn?
Go ahead.
Time to go. I just want to say this. As far as things I love that we started off the show with, if I hadn't been willing to, man, that sounds obnoxious and pretentious and lectury.
Just let it out. Be sincere.
Say it. It's crap. It is obnoxious and pretentious and lectury, and I'm not going to do it. I'm better than that.
All right.
I watched a lot of movies in the last couple of weeks and some TV shows. Unusual. I mean, I racked up a lot of movies. But most of them were good movies, and the ones that weren't, there were still small gems in them that I could notice and appreciate. And so I'm satisfied. I didn't feel like I wasted my time. Even watching Dark Fate, I didn't feel like I wasted my time because there were good things I could notice and just take lessons from. So I'm satisfied. Terrible movie, but I knew it was a terrible movie going in. I'd watched a review on YouTube. It might have been Doomcock or The Critical Drinker, where they did a beat for beat of the entire movie. So I knew the entire movie going in. But even then, it wasn't a waste of time because I got to see some really good stuff that was buried in a really terrible movie. Because once you know that a movie's bad, you can just kind of set that aside, or at least I can. I can just kind of set that aside. I know it's going to be bad. So that frees me up to, instead of just, frowning at it or moaning at it, to just look for what little pieces might be good in it. And it doesn't make the movie good, but it makes those pieces good, and I can look for the gems in the mud. And for these movies, there was enough gems that it was worth it for me. I'm not saying everybody has that same or needs that same approach. I have been working on as a game master for so long, and I've been working on designing my own campaigns for so long, or whatever, taking inspiration for stories if you're a writer, or inspiration for a world background or whatever. The more different places you can look and find tiny bits of inspiration, the more rich your worlds might be. And like that cybernetic thing, I'm not saying you want to put that exactly in your book, but maybe it'll spark your imagination, and you'll think of something else because of that, and that'll help make a story. It'll become an element in a story that'll make your story better. All I'm saying is, if you do have the time, and maybe you don't, but if you do have the time, and that is how your creative mind works, sometimes it's worth it to watch a movie you know is going to be bad, just to find out the good bits in there and get some inspiration from them. It works for me, and maybe it'll work for you. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening live. Thanks everybody who will listen to this show later on youtube.com/Geek Gab. Feel free, if you like, to give it a upvote, click the subscribe, and click the bell so you'll be notified as to when we go live in the future. This is Geek Gab. We broadcast live just about every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, almost always. We are also available on the Google Play Store, the iTunes Store, and on SoundCloud.com. Just do a search for Geek Gab, and you will find this awesome and amazing show. We have to sign out for today. But don't you worry. Don't you fret. We will be back.